Hello, welcome everybody to another EA Zoom meeting. I'm Robin Grabfelder, and today we're joined with a large panel. We have Stu Hilliard, Kathy Lindsay, Tara McGillicuddy, Tara Malloy Brommel, Marty Dixon, Ryan Evans, and Nia Filer. So today we're going to be discussing the current events of November and December with an end of year wrap up on the astrology. Marty, would you like to start?
Thank you, Robin. We're here on the day after Veterans Day, which is very interesting, and that will certainly come into the discussion, I'm sure. One thing that has really come up for me when I speak with my sister is, are we born to do what we are doing now? And we live in tumultuous times, and we have to really ask ourselves, are we here for a reason? Every one of us and everyone watching, are we here for a reason? Are we trying to make sense of where we are? And are we trying to find our voice? Are we trying to stand out and speak up? And sometimes the times when they're very difficult, that forces the issue. It's called evolutionary necessity. And I think a lot of us are here now, and a lot are watching, that have been called to have a voice and find their voice and speak up. A lot of people that might be too timid or restrained to do so are coming out and speaking up. Jeffrey Wolf Green, I studied with him all through the 90s, from about 93 to about 99. He said that evolution will not take place through collective enlightenment. He says it never has and it never will, and in the next few generations it will take place through evolutionary necessity, meaning when push comes to shove, the meek and the timid and the mild are going to find their place in the world and make some noise. So that's where we are. And he did say that the Pluto and Leo generation would usher in the Aquarian age. We've mentioned that many times. And if you think about it, why is that? Well, we've come of age. We're at a certain age when Pluto entered Aquarius, which was, for the last time last year. It became entrenched in Aquarius last year. And so we are here to usher that in, number one. And number two, we were born at the Pluto polarity point in Pluto and Leo. So all of that comes into play, and he says, you're it. He said, astrologers, you're going to be called on more and more in the times to come. And he warned us about these times right now. He said, you better be prepared, and you better be serious, and you better practice, because you're going to be counseling a lot of souls on a very deep level and trying to make sense of chaos. So I'm going to start with the USA chart, and we have two charts to look at. One is called what I use, it's called the Gemini rising chart of July 4th, 1776 at 3:10 in the morning. And the reason that I use that chart is because that's the time that Jeffrey taught us was when inspiration fell on our forefathers to really pull this together. And as all of you know, 3 a.m. is a pretty inspirational time of the morning. It's a Neptune point. So anyway, that's the chart that I use, Gemini rising. And then we're also going to look at the Moon Casey chart with Kim Marie Weimer's permission. And that's about 9:37 in the morning when the Declaration of Independence was signed. So we're going to look at those two. And I know that there's other charts, and they all work. They're all within a 24-hour time period. They're all during the same day. And they all work. But as you know, there's going to be a different rising sign about every hour and a half. And that rising sign makes a big difference in the story of the Declaration of our Independence and how it was conceived and how it was written. Okay, so that's the one that I use. And our Constitution is based on Iroquois principles of democracy, oral traditions and wisdom teachings that are woven into wampum belts and rugs and designs. And they were the oral traditions of the Native Americans that influenced our forefathers, specifically Benjamin Franklin and Alexander Hamilton and a handful of others who actually visited them and went to their tribal councils and circle meetings and longhouses and attended their meetings. These people actually they put their wisdom teachings, like I said, they recited the stories orally, and they put their teachings into coded weavings and artifacts, and that's how they wanted to keep the truth of their age-old teachings going forever, and that's how they taught the children. They were not written down. And I've had Native American teachers forever, and one of them told me that the reason that they were not written down is because they don't share everything, and they never will. This country was founded on the principles of freedom of religion and freedom of speech, and the right to peacefully protest and assemble, and the freedom of press as well. That's a big one. The press has definitely been maligned this past year, and we are founded on civil disobedience as well, and that's all in the First Amendment of our Constitution. Okay, so let me go to my slides here. Do you all see that?
Yes, ma'am.
We're good, okay.
Yep.
Okay. So to begin with, I just want to talk about a quote from Thomas Jefferson: "When tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty." And again, you'll see in the charts, we know what's going on in our government and in our land and in our nation. And what astrology does is it elucidates. It shines a light on the page of what we're going through, and it helps to confirm the subconscious. And it doesn't cause reality; it only reflects it. So knowing what's going on and then looking at the maps and the charts, so to speak, only confirm the subconscious and help us to really see more clearly what we're trying to make sense of. And we're in extremely chaotic times right now. So that quote by Thomas Jefferson is very core to what we're going to talk about, because, like I said, when push comes to shove, the meek rise up. And we saw that in the 1960s with all the civil disobedience protests, and some of you weren't quite born yet, but that's what happens when you're between a rock and a hard place. You find your voice and you come forth. Okay. So this country was predicated on religious freedom, and Jeffrey made a huge point of that. We were born in freedom of speech, and the country was born with Uranus and Gemini in the 12th house. And certainly with retrograde Saturn and Neptune stationing direct and transiting to Aries by February of next year, we can certainly consider that we're thinking outside of the box and thinking outside of the status quo. Oh, darn it, I just...
Marty, are you showing the chart?
I'm going to show the chart.
Okay, I was going to say, because I'm
where
not,
we
I'm
need to
not
be.
seeing.
Okay, let's get to where we need to be.
One of the things that I was going to share, I don't know if I can pop in here real quick while you're looking for the chart, is because you mentioned the Pluto Leos. There in the early 1700s, Pluto was in Leo. So to me, I was looking at, the decades of the 1700s, and it's very similar to what we have now, obviously, because now we're at the same place when the Declaration was signed. Pluto late Capricorn, early Aquarius for us now. And to me, it makes me think about the people that left, if they were leaving England or the UK, to come to America to settle a new life. They were leaving the motherland. They were leaving their Pluto Cancer parents or the generation before them to settle on a new destiny for themselves, Pluto Leo. And I have a graphic that I can show at some point about that shows the years that Pluto is in signs. And this the right hemisphere is there's less years spent in each sign. And so there's more Pluto generations here now. I talked about this in one of my recent presentations, but that's one of the things that creates this diversity and this need to really learn to work together, because we're all coming from our own Pluto journey. Yeah. I'll pause there.
Okay, so thank you very much, Kara. Thank you very much. That's right, what I'm trying to talk about. But the Iroquois people were the people that shared the Iroquois Confederacy and their form of democracy in the very, before the Declaration of Independence was signed, before the Revolutionary War. In fact, they were meeting with some of our forefathers on a rather regular basis and teaching them. And they became what's called the Haudenosaunee, which is a tribe of, I think, 6 separate nations of people who agreed to live under traditional law of governments that they called the Great Law of Peace. And that has become what we now know today of our traditional longhouses that are still used today, where people gathered together and formed a circle inside, and everyone had equal weight at the circle and equal voice. Very, very important. And it worked. Okay. Bear with me. Okay. I had a teacher by the name of Robert Ghostwolf, and this is his quote, and he said, "To the Haudenosaunee people, the great prophet, which likens our Jesus, and many believe that it was one and the same, the great prophet that came to the Haudenosaunee people was called Diganawida, the great peacemaker. He created the great peace. It is the way of the great peace that united the Iroquois Confederacy for hundreds of years before the coming of the white man." And that preceded our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence. And I believe it's going to reawaken it, and it's going to continue throughout all of America, because that was what we were predicated on. And I believe it's going to be the underlying theme and cause and meaning for our nation for as long as our nation exists. Diganawida spoke about how to be human beings, how a warrior race could live in unity and peace, and with Neptune and Saturn transiting to Aries finally, it really brings new meaning to the phrase peaceful warrior. He and his helper, Hiawatha, taught the people how to create a form of self-government that was based upon the spiritual understanding of the human family. And we have quite a bit in Cancer. We have the sun in Cancer and quite a few planets in Cancer in our USA chart as well.
Marty, I'm still not seeing the chart.
Okay, let's go to the chart. Bear with me just one moment. I'll just say it's upon this form of government which our entire Constitution is based, the great claim to freedom of America. So here is USA Gemini rising, and on the left and on the right is the Moon Casey chart. Y'all see that?
No. You may have to stop the share and start it again.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Something's not right.
Let me try it again.
There you go. Yep.
Oh, thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. So here's the Gemini rising chart on the left, and here's the Moon Casey chart on the right, and I'm going to explain the Moon Casey chart in just a moment. But like I said, Kim Marie graciously gave us this Moon Casey slide, or she gave us this Moon Casey information that she talked about on the 5th of November. And before I continue, please watch the 5th of November Astro Speak, because it was dynamite. It was Robin and Sue and Eric Myers, Jordan Smith, Marie O'Neill, and Kim Marie Weimer. And please watch that, because this whole, I spoke briefly with Kim Marie. This whole lecture is predicated on that. It was really fantastic. So here's the Gemini.
I'll put a link to it in the description
please,
of this video.
It was very, very good. And I think it'll help calm people down. I really do, to start to see more clearly what all is going on in the sky and down here on Earth. But here's the Gemini rising sign. As you can see, it's 3:10 in the morning in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on July 4th, 1776, contrasted with the Munkacy chart, which was when we believe that the Declaration of Independence was actually signed at 9:37 a.m. So the Gemini rising chart has Gemini rising, and the Munkacy chart has Virgo rising. They're both mutable axes, and they're both ruled by Mercury retrograde in Cancer. And that's when you see this Cancer signature. To me, that speaks a lot of what we just discussed about family principles being written into a governing body. Considering the family and family principles, and that we're all family and we're all equal of some sort. That's how our nation was founded, was on the value of the family and the larger family, the framework of the family. This is open to discussion, but just a couple of things that I want to show you is that when at 3:10 in the morning, we had Mars rising in Gemini. Freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of the press, freedom to peacefully gather. Yeah, it's like the again, the peaceful warrior, people that might not have be considered to be very aggressive or taking action. The forefathers are taking action now, and they're doing it deliberately, and they're doing it with signed documents. And I think we're going to see more of that in the very near future. One thing that's really interesting is that we have all of the north nodes of the planets in the constellations of Leo, Cancer, and Gemini. And that's got to have a lot of import. That's got to mean an awful lot, because these are very, Leo, Cancer, and Gemini tend to be very progressive signs and difficult signs if you look at the phases of the moon chart and how they apply to the second, third, and fourth houses. No, the third, fourth, and fifth houses. It's a time of tremendous momentum and forward movement. So here they're all in the signs of Leo, Cancer, and Gemini. And then when you get to the Munkacy chart, they are as well, but they're just on it, they have a different rising sign. So let's move right ahead. When you have this mutable axis here, it does stand for stretching, growth, discussion, adaptability, and it's very open. It's very open to discussion, and what are we going to do, and democratic thinking and democratic procedures, and how are we going to all agree on this? It stands for, with Gemini rising, it stands for unity through diversity, of course. Here you have Uranus in Gemini and Mars in Gemini. And a willingness to go against the grain of religious and governing conditioning, patriarchal conditioning that was, at that time, what the forefathers were actually committing and even speaking about writing a Declaration of Independence and becoming separate from the Church of England was considered heresy by the English Church, and very daring and very bold. And I'll just keep going. Here we go.
So before you move on, does anybody else have comments about those two charts and the juxtaposition of them?
Not specifically the juxtaposition, because in both charts, Neptune is in Virgo, whether ends up being in the fourth house or the first. To me, that speaks to the disillusion of the hierarchy. If that's what the founding fathers were trying to get out from under the tyranny. But of course, they were also coming from their conditioning, their prior conditioning, which still had that patriarchal feel, that there was still a hierarchy present.
I also want to say that when we're looking at Mars on the ascendant in Gemini, It sparked my memory having to do with I think it's the Sabian symbol where Uranus is now. I was thinking we could read that because it's just feeling like it's very similar. So what Uranus and Taurus is wrapping up in this period of closure that's going on is returning us to this idea of honoring our lineage, and allowing everyone to have a seat at the table based on equality and inclusivity and recognizing everyone's differences as more of a positive than a negative. I don't know if you can look that up, Sue, but I could
Yeah.
be, I'm pretty sure it would be 29 degrees Taurus.
Well, it's actually 30 degrees because we're just
We're at 29, it'd be 30. So
yeah.
I'm wrong
So,
then on that same symbol.
It's a peacock parading on the terrace of an old castle. The keynote is the personal display of inherited gifts. And then the explanation, a great person able to display a multitude of gifts is always, at one level or another, the consummation of a long past of efforts and victories. As a great occultist once wrote, adepts are the flowering of their races and cultures. The peacock is the bird consecrated to Venus. In occult traditions, the Promethean spirits who gave to animals, mankind, the divine gift of self-conscious intelligence had come from Venus, which may or may not refer to the physical planet we can observe in the sky. This is the final symbol of the fourth scene, whose keyword has been given as confirmation. This peacock symbol indeed confirms the social status of the owner of the ancestral estate. It indicates a consummation of individual efforts, and it suggests that such a consummation is hardly possible except when a line of ancestors, biological or spiritual, form its base. Wow.
Yeah.
That was for Mars 29.
No, that was for Uranus.
That's for Uranus at
30.
30 degrees in the last degree of Taurus.
Okay.
I can.
Where it is now.
Do you want me to read the one for Mars?
Well, I just put up Mars at 21, because that's what is in the chart.
I feel like Uranus now is kind of bringing that Sabian symbol into our consciousness, and it's very reflective of what we're seeing here in the US birth chart. So
yeah, the 21 degrees Gemini is pretty interesting too. A tumultuous labor demonstration.
The symbol highlights group efforts can bring emotional and social change, and it suggests that an organized action and collective expression will give individuals that can address the issues and work toward common goals.
Yeah. So that's what we're born with.
Right. The importance of collective effort and standing up for one's rights and the potential for emotional release and change through public demonstration.
Wow.
So moving right along, anyone else? Okay, moving right along. This is this is July 4th of this year. And as you all know, that was a Pluto return. It was 249 years since the Declaration of Independence. And here's that chart right here. What's interesting is that what happened on that day, 249 years later from the signing of our Declaration of Independence, Senate passed the big, beautiful bill. And it's a gut punch. It's a gut punch. There's no doubt about it. There's no other way to explain it. So here we have it, and this bill assured that over the next 10 years, the Affordable Health Care and Medicare would be ripped away from over 40 million Americans, those who need it most, and rips affordable health care away from 1 in 8 Americans and gives those funds in the form of tax breaks to wealthy Republican donors and large corporations. So that's what happened on that day, and it's a 10-year plan, and that's what was happening on our July 4th of this year. If you look at the chart, you've got Mars in the 12th house in Virgo. You've got no, you don't, because we're not looking at the houses in this chart, not at all. But you do have Mars in Virgo. You have the South Node in Virgo and the North Node in Pisces. And then you have Saturn, Neptune, and Ceres in I keep losing my cursor, in Aries. And they have since retrograded back to Pisces, as we all know, and they're going to do a last retrograde to Aries in February of next year. I have to keep moving this or I lose it. And look at that Ceres, the goddess of agriculture. Now, what's happening with our food and our food supply and our food distribution nowadays? That Ceres is huge. And, the phrase "let the meat cake" does come to mind, and the French Revolution does come to mind that preceded the Revolutionary War. But we're not feeding people. We're withholding food from the people that need it the most, and this is going to blow up. This can't happen.
Yeah, and Ceres is actually still in Aries and is about to turn direct at about 2 degrees of Aries. So yeah.
So Sue, thank you. That it helps us see clearly to look at the signatures and the symbols. It helps us see clearly that I remember one of the phrases that Kim Marie used last time. She said, "Let the rebellions begin." You can't starve people, and you can't starve people that need it the most, and you can't take away their health care because they're going to starve and they're going to die. Okay.
All right, next, and it's ruled by the Mars in Virgo, which is, health and healthcare.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. And then Uranus to Gemini on July 7th, a few days after July 4th. Here's the Uranus to Gemini's chart. And as you can see, it's basically Uranus has ingressed to Gemini. And one thing that was pointed out in the last discussion was that Uranus ingressed to Gemini during most of our American major conflicts, most of our American major wars, right here. It's a sign of rebellion and the little people, speaking out and taking a stand. Am I gonna go there? Don't really need to go there, I don't think so, but it's there if you want to read it. And I'll just move on. Okay, this is Kim Marie's chart. This is the Moon Casey chart, and she that's why I would like people to go back and watch the November 5th Astro Speak panel, because she talked about how historical research and records established that the Second Continental Congress maintained a consistent daily schedule for its years in existence, and they worked from 9 to 4 p.m. with no lunch, meaning that as near as she could figure, and the gentleman who authored this chart could figure, the signing of the Declaration of Independence took place between 9 and 11 a.m., and this chart is for 9:37. And I just really want to thank Kim Marie for that information. And from what I remember, Jeffrey teaching us, he told us that even in the wee hours of the morning of July 4th, 1776 at 3:10 a.m., he said that they worked through the night. So this is like a, days on end labor of love. They were trying to get it done, and they had to do it under perhaps certain heavenly auspices that they may or may not have been aware of, but they were bound and determined to get it done. And we're in those times now, aren't we? They've come back around, and we're going to be 250 years away from the signing of the declaration in July of next year coming up, and we'll just have to see how that turns out. But this is a very interesting chart. As you can see, we have Mercury retrograde opposed Pluto retrograde. We have Sun square Saturn. We have Mars in Gemini, free speech, squaring, whoops, I'm so sorry, squaring Neptune in Virgo. And I just would want to add that the founders that did this and signed this, they had to meet in secret before they actually created the Continental Congress, because there were dissenters and they were afraid of perhaps the word getting out and some kind of persecution, but they persevered. And then this is another chart of Kim Marie's. This is the Mukasey chart again. The inside and the outside are current transits. It's actually November 4th transits. This is the current skies on November 4th.
That was the day of the election.
Yes, the day of the election. Thank you, Sue. Thank you so much. That was a very positive result for Democrats. And again, we have the Mercury, it's the Virgo rising, and the at this point in time, let's see here a moment. Yeah, this is the Mukasey chart. The Mukasey chart is the inner chart. That's what this is based on. And so what we have again in the November 4th chart compared to the Mukasey chart is the past coming to the light of day, or the past coming into meeting the world, so to speak. The past meeting the world, and the future becoming ingrained in our continued efforts toward democracy. We have Uranus in Gemini conjunct Uranus in Gemini. Well, at the same, almost the same degree as Uranus in Gemini. And remember that it was July 7th. Yeah, July 7th. That this actually ingressed to Gemini, Uranus here, I believe. And then we have Chiron, conjunct Chiron in Aries. And this one's really interesting to me because what I've been taught in astrology is that what you do to help yourself, and in this case, what the nation did to help itself, helps everybody else in the world. And so this Chiron from the signing of the Declaration 249 years ago is actually affecting our nation today, this Chiron in Aries retrograde. And we're going to see a lot of change. There's a lot of change at hand, and we're going to see a lot of back and forth. But I think we're evolving very quickly right now as a nation. So take heart, have faith. And then, of course, you have Pluto conjunct Pluto here when you compare the two houses to the Mukasey chart and where Pluto is now.
Just throwing a 2 cents out there. There are some of us who are working with ascribing co-rulership of Virgo to Chiron. And if one wanted to play along those lines, then that Chiron would be a chart ruler. Just throwing that out there, little bees and bonnets, see what happens, play around with it, tell me what you think.
Yes, I like that. And in addition, the traditional ruler Mercury in Sagittarius is, opposite that Uranus and just turned retrograde right after the election. So here we are, back talking about, what's going on. And I think
with a Jupiter station on that Mercury too, if we want to go that route.
Very true. Yeah, on the natal Mercury, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say something about that too. That was in my notes about Jupiter's retrograde is going to go, back across. I don't think it'll go all the way back to the moon or the sun and Jupiter, but it'll definitely cross that Mercury a couple of times. And then the other thing, just looking at this chart, at that 16-degree Virgo, that is where the Pluto Uranus conjunction was in 1966. So that's an important, that was an important seeding time. So having the South Node there again, I think that was also one of our eclipse points. We're definitely in that in that process.
Yeah, and we'll still have one more eclipse on that on that point next year. Yes.
Okay, moving on. Okay.
Wait, does anybody else have anything to add to the on that chart? I think this is one thing that I think we all wanted to talk about, and
I think that Chiron conjunct Chiron is so key because we are, as a people, together trying to work out this collective national soul wound. And I'm hopeful that as Chiron gets on its way, we'll see some progress as far as that's concerned, because it's in Aries, and Aries is always offering us this ability to be reborn, and become something different. So the 20-degree Chiron the nation was founded upon this 20-degree Chiron wound. So where do we want to take that? Because we are in this process of revisiting it. That makes sense.
Totally. I hear that collective soul wound, and it's interesting because conversations I've had um, with individuals is that there's so many people that feel so alone and don't know what to do and feel hopeless and helpless and victimized. So, yes, totally. Each individual finding their power, working through
Yes.
their own stuff, can then have that collective effect. Hey, I'm doing something. Oh, I'm doing my work. Oh wow, I guess I'm doing my work too. All right, we're doing our work together.
Right. And
And
that
then
has a ripple effect.
yeah,
So, mhm.
totally. So that's what we're hoping for. If
I
it,
Yeah,
agree.
it was Goethe who said, if everyone swept in front of their own steps, the whole world would be clean. So, highly recommend brooms.
Yes. And cleaning out the closet with that as well, right?
Oh, we don't have to talk about the closet. Oh, that's Pluto. No, that's Pluto.
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm in my Chiron return right now as well. So any of us who have gone through their Chiron return knows what it feels like. But on a personal level, and then comparing it to the collective level, is, it brings up those things that, especially in Aries. This is also in my first house. So, how do we show up for ourselves? Like you were just saying, and then coming together, Marty, what you were saying about how what we develop or how we express our own Chiron or how we heal our own Chiron or work through it is then our gift to the world. And
Yeah.
so that is, to me, the beauty, or what could be the beauty of America, is that we could show people that it's okay to be your individual self, to be free, to be, have agency. I mean, just personally, that's what I try to bring to, my clients as well, is it's okay to be authentically you. And I don't know, I see that as it could be the hope for America, I suppose, in the highest expression.
Kara, that's totally right on because I think about all it takes is one multi-billionaire, all it takes is a couple or a handful of multi-billionaires actually opening up the valves to that old trickle-down economics. And yeah, some change could really an individual's choice could actually affect, global change. So I think now I'm not a billionaire, and if any of y'all are, good for you, keep up the great work. But for those of us who are not billionaires, I believe, and this energy would reflect the potential that even if we're not billionaires, we still have some sort of gift or talent or expertise or something that our heart goes into, that when we do it and do it consciously, do it right, and do it out in the world, can have that ripple effect. So, it doesn't have to be money. It could just be holding space for someone in suffering. It could be, working an hour at a food bank. So we've all got our gifts. It's just finding those times to actually use them.
Exactly. Yeah. We each can contribute in the way that we can. Speaking of which, Kathy, I saw you trying to say something. Did you want to?
I was just kind of pointing out that the Pluto return, we all realize that, but it's also triggering that Aquarian South Node of the United States, which is the people basically, Aquarius. And so it's South Node, so it's more or less saying, what haven't we got right yet about, community, about humanity and how we treat them. And that's one part of that South Node. And that's being brought up so strongly right now. How we treat the community right now. People are, stepping up and bringing food and supplying, and all of that's being triggered. Another thing with Pluto and Uranus, I mean, in the 60s, early 70s, etc., they were conjunct. They're two main players. And then when we get into like 2010, 12-ish, whatever, we had the seven cardinal squares, Pluto, Uranus. And now, I mean, it's more of a trine, but they're still connected. And there's that connection of that Pluto, Uranus through each of those main happenings during the cardinal square, that whole thing. And then when they were conjunct in the 60s, early 70s. So I kind of wanted to point that out a little bit too.
Yeah, we're moving on to the next phase of the Pluto
Exactly.
Uranus.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Kathy. We're in that first quarter trine now, which is the Leo energy.
Right.
To me, that just speaks such beauty to, Pluto and Aquarius, our Pluto Leo. Leo
Right.
is our polarity point right now for the next 20 years almost. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, back with the hippies, basically, when they were conjunct in the 60s, whatever, late 60s, 70s. I mean, the energy was so different because the main energy at that particular time was love and peace and music, actually. And, we planted those seeds back then. And it seems like every time that this Uranus Pluto kind of gets, excuse, excuse me, activated again, one of the things, if you want to think about it, that will help this move forward as a human race is love and peace. And when I do with my clients and everything, I tell them, well, every day when you walk out that front door, send love and peace to the collective, because that's stronger than hate and division and fear. And we got to get the collective into balance and to move forward there.
Yay for the hippies.
Yeah. I don't want to admit that I'm that old, but I was one of them.
Me too.
Yeah, there we go.
Me too, but I OD'd in 1971 and came back the next year. So here I am.
All right.
Well, I'm glad you came back, and I'm a hippie son. Well, not a son, but a daughter of hippies already. Both my parents are hippies. My mother was in the West Coast in the 60s. She was modeling for Givenchy or something and going to the Doors concerts.
Wow.
Sounds like fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was living in the Haight-Ashbury then.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. Do we have a chart for 2027
You mean when the
for the United States Uranus return?
Oh, yes.
I just think, I mean, not to jump the gun or anything, but I'm just like, considering timing. I wonder
Yeah.
who's inventing something in their garage and we're not going to know about it until 2027. Hmm.
And the other thing that I think is so cool, and I mentioned this again in one of my previous presentations, was the north node of Uranus is at 14 degrees Gemini. So Uranus will cross its own north node, planetary north node, I think in 2029. So I think it's just really, to me, exciting. I mean, sure, we've talked a little bit beforehand about AI and some of the dangers of it, but I think, like you said, somebody could be inventing something now. They're already working on it now that's going to bring it out in the next, few years that hopefully will benefit all of humanity.
And
Right.
it might just be developing of new ways of structuring our collective society and government.
As is needed.
Yeah.
It's all. I like to think about Gemini as the lens through which we perceive this reality, and we can color that however we want, and we can say that existence is exactly what it is, and it will be reflected back to us based on our opinions of it, based on our projections of it. So uh, uh, I would surmise that we have been operating, viewing reality through a generally accepted and agreed upon collective lens. Oh, what would existence be if new information came to us that changed the color of the lens through which society, the world, the United States here, which is a representative of Western civilization.
I
Um,
can share that chart.
oh, okay. Oh, I was going to say you were going to share what you knew what was going to happen, and I was
Oh
like,
yeah, I
oh,
wish
so good. I can't
actually
wait.
it's that's very interesting because I wish I did know. My moon is almost exactly, I mean, is within a couple of degrees of that Uranus, and
Uh-huh.
so at that point Uranus will be going over my moon. So I
Uh-huh.
have thought about, where are we going?
So Sue's working on something in her basement that she's going to bring out in a couple of years. I'm
Yeah,
so excited. Oh,
exactly,
thank you so
exactly.
much. We could use a shift in perspective, Uranus in Gemini. And that shift in perspective that I'm projecting into the future, wow. I mean, isn't that what it would take? Oh, we have a completely different framework. Oh, we're not alone in the universe. Or, oh, geez, we have warp technology all of a sudden. Or, oh, wow, we can magically make food out of the ether or something amazing, like that. Oh, would that not change our planet? And hopefully in a good way. So.
What if we could speak, or not actually speak, but what if telepathy was real, became more real? I mean, I think it is real, but became more ubiquitous,
Commonplace.
if we want to say. How much do we then, because there's nothing to hide, so then we are really all one.
That would be so nice. We'd have to
Yeah.
decalcify our pineal glands first, and they've been working really hard on that, but story for another time.
Yeah.
The ancient Lumerians,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
it was based upon complete honesty and truth. They couldn't lie to each other because they telepathically knew the soul of the other. I mean, how beautiful is that? No
Yeah.
lies, complete honesty, truth. I find it interesting that 3-eye Atlas, hate to bring that into the conversation right now because that could go a million ways. But I mean, that was first discovered within a week of Uranus moving into Gemini in July. And that has sparked a lot of, conversation, especially among people who may have been very closed off and not wanted to even consider that we're not alone. It's also gotten people more interested in learning about space. I mean, the fact that this is just an interstellar object coming from gosh knows where and traveling for however long. I mean, what kind of consciousness is that bringing with it to bestow upon the earth? I mean, I like thinking about that stuff because, it is carrying an ancient wisdom that we haven't seen before. Sorry.
So do you want to give us a little background I mean, I'm aware of it. I don't, and I've seen, that people are talking about it, but I don't know exactly what they're saying and why.
Well, I don't know. I'm not an expert, but what I do know is that it apparently has, well, it was discovered in July, and it showed a lot of strange anomalies. They know that it's the third interstellar object visiting us. They believe it's a natural, well, some believe it's a natural comet, some believe it's not, that it has some kind of intelligent form that is guiding it because it's displaying a lot of different anomalies based on its trajectory. I think the one thing that stood out for me as an astrologer is the fact that it's traveling on the planetary plane. So they've never seen that before with a comet. So that's a little strange, its trajectory being so right on with the planets. I do know that it passed closest to Mars, and I believe recently it was perihelion, it's called. So it was closest to the sun, and it came out, and then within, I think like a week ago, it was closest to Venus. So if we really tap in and notice how we're feeling just with the archetypal symbolism of Mars and Venus, what have we seen occur as far as how these symbologies might be changing? I mean, I think the peace treaties were signed right around the time it was closest to Mars. I feel like for me personally, I've been much more tapped into forgiving myself, forgiving others, feeling much more of the love vibration right now, which would be Venus. So I'm not saying this has anything to do with it, but I am feeling some energetic changes shifting, at least among the planets it's passed near recently. So I don't know. It's something I'm interested in.
One of the things that I was as it was moving perihelion, and it was there were so many, like 5, I think, major solar flares at the time toward that object. Obviously, it was drawing the sun's, the way I think about it is think about when we discovered, the outer planets, or like Chiron. Chiron is just coming to its initial return from when it was discovered, right? 1977. So it's what are we getting from it? Like you mentioned, the consciousness that it's bringing to us. What is it developing, or what is it bringing out in our consciousness, awakening, if you will, in us? And from what I understand as well, it came from the direction of the galactic center.
Yes.
So it's the sign of Sagittarius. So higher knowledge, or,
And
intuitive wisdom.
It'll be closest to Earth on December 19th. So the sun will still, be in Sagittarius, and I don't know.
So was it closest to Mars when Mars was in Scorpio? And I know it was closest to Venus when Venus was in Libra. So I mean, in signs of their own rulership.
Exactly. Right.
Is it kind of interesting?
It is interesting.
It's interesting if you really consider that during this age of Aquarius up until 2043 and beyond, we are, many people believe we are becoming and joining a galactic society. I believe it. I believe we're being visited left and right, and that the visitors are telepathic. But
Robin,
that's a whole nother panel.
Yeah.
One of the things, I'm sorry. one of the things that really interested astronomers is that what you mentioned, being so close to Venus and Mars, and I think it did it with one of the outer planets as well. So first of all, it came exactly from the galactic center, and then it moved in a trajectory that changed speed, not like a comet, took on velocity and took away velocity, and secondly, it paraboled, it slingshot itself because like the statistical possibility that no intelligence would choose a trajectory like this that utilizes both Venus and Mars and one of the outer planets as a slingshot for conserving energy and comes directly from the sun. If you know a little bit about air battles, World War, and so on and so forth, you attack from the direction of the sun, so you won't be seen. And it was unseen to us because of it for a little while, heading from the sun towards us. So all of these cause bafflement and discombobulation with the scientific community, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah, they also found another smaller comet traveling with it.
Lemon, was it,
Mm-hmm.
or Borisov?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called.
There's a few of them out there right now that they've been watching that are pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, there's kind of like a group of
what do
them.
you
I
guys
thought
think? What is it? Is it just new information coming in, new consciousness
Or
coming
an
in?
awakening.
Yeah, it's
An
an
awakening of
awakening.
our consciousness
Yes.
is what I feel
Me
it
too.
is that something, we talk about neutrinos that come from the sun. So if all the planets, if we're heliocentric and the planets are, sending their energy to the sun is reflecting it to us, is kind of how I see things. And so all the consciousness of the universe then is directed from the sun back to us.
And
And so
everything is carried with us with it. I mean, it's coming to visit us for whatever reason. I do believe personally it's an organic object, but it has the most ancient consciousness we could possibly imagine. It's carrying the universal consciousness, and it's coming close to us to
It's
give us.
also very synchronistic that it's happening at this particular moment during the time when Jupiter and Neptune and Saturn, Neptune and Saturn are going to conjoin at the 0 point.
Yes.
So I think there's a lot of synchronicity there, showing that it is part of the whole story of birthing something completely new for humanity.
And you know what's really interesting, Robin, is if you look into ancient, ages old Indian prophecy or native prophecy, the Hopi say that the red Kachina is about to announce itself, and and they in their prophecy on Prophecy Rock, they say that we've gone through World War I and World War II, and we're on the brink of World War III. And is there going to be an intervention?
Yes.
I think a lot of that really kind of has to do right now with Uranus and Gemini, because Uranus thinking outside the box and all humanity, but being able to kind of be futuristic. And Gemini, the communication and also that kind of childlike optimism and bringing in, and I've thought how the recognition of aliens, whatever you want to say, that we realize that's happening, but a lot of people don't. I think that's really going to come out in the open a whole lot more, and a lot more information and connection with the galactic council, whatever you want to call that. I think to me, it feels like with Pluto, in Aquarius and the rule of Aquarius and Gemini, people talking, but outside the box and outside our normal little perfect picture of how things really look.
I love that. Well said.
Uranus and Gemini, and Uranus accelerates everything it touches, so it's accelerating our possibilities and opening our minds and
Exactly.
And our
doing what we're
curiosity.
doing right here and now.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's so interesting about, communication and Wow, I just lost my train of thought. Thank you, Mercury retrograde. Wow, it's gone.
It'll come back.
It'll
It'll come
come
back.
back. It always does.
Wow.
Perfect, because Uranus is our ability to pivot. If you imagine moving through the darkness and all of a sudden you hear something, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to
Yeah.
adapt. You're going to innovate. And I like to think of Uranus as our ability or our function in which we can effectively adapt and
Mhm.
innovate.
Yes, and innovate.
And if Gemini is, variety, and oh, look at that, what squirrel? And
Yeah.
then our need perhaps to adapt and innovate may be instigated by sudden and quick needs in which to adapt and innovate. And so, therefore, keeping, I think, Kathy, you said it, keeping our childlike wonder and
Yeah.
curiosity at a high, that would be a beautiful counter to what is otherwise possible, which is the anxiety and the stress of, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And how are we going to do it? And oh my gosh, does anybody know how to can a squash? Does anybody know how to plant a zucchini? Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We're going to have to modify and adapt. Who do we ask? Well, maybe then somebody who has that information.
Yeah.
Well, and we
So,
have Uranus, kind of sliding back into Taurus, and
Mhm.
Mercury is opposing it, so we're going back. We're going, I mean, we kind of talked before we started recording about the fact that, every the Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus are all going back into their previous signs before we move forward. Plus, we have all of these lunations that are at 28 degrees of their respective signs. So we've got this especially this one coming up. We have the Scorpio new moon conjunct Mercury opposing Uranus. And
I'll go ahead and share it since
okay,
we
yeah,
did
there you go.
it.
Thank you.
perfect.
Yeah, here's the big one coming up on the 19th.
So I don't like to do predictive astrology because, as Yoda said, uh, regarding the future, it's always in motion and therefore difficult to see. So how these archetypes percolate up in an individual chart or on a collective level, I'm reluctant to say this is what it's going to be. Um, so I don't like to say, oh, this is what's going to happen. Oh, watch out for this thing. It is true. I was a silent one, but one of the only astrologers who predicted Trump over Hillary, but a story for another time. I don't like to do prediction, but if Earth is
Mhm.
somehow Taurus and change is Uranus, I just wonder if, here we are having this conversation, oh, we're humans, what are we going to do with our pollution and how are we going to clean up our messes and oh, some people aren't doing the things that they should be and all this conversation is happening. I wonder if Mother Earth is interested in taking some action. I wonder if Mother Earth wants to somehow join the conversation and say, hey, anybody interested in what I need? Anybody interested in actually putting your money where your mouth is or changing some policies? No. And so, again, don't like to do predictive astrology, but if there were to be any Earth Taurus changes, Uranus, I would think that maybe those things could happen during a retrograde and to back into it into the last degrees. I don't know. Is that possible? I mean, y'all are astrologers. What do you think?
I would agree
Silence.
I
that
think
it's
you're
quite
onto
possible.
something.
Well, and so if I
I
really
agree.
think about it, if I really think about it, it's like who's really speaking for Mother Earth? I mean, is there no taxation without representation? Is there a seat for Earth in the House of Representatives? I don't think so.
No.
There's no astrologer there either, for that matter. Story for another time, but you know,
Yeah,
I think her voice is wanting to be heard, I guess, bottom line is what I'm saying.
I agree. And I think she's a little pissed off.
I agree.
I mean, look at all this the stuff happening with the earth. I mean, all of the earthquakes that are happening and flooding and massive, well, even changing in seasons. I mean, here in the Midwest, we used to have spring, fall, winter, and summer. Now they kind of go into the other, what we would consider traditional. I mean, we had a weekend where we had some snow this last weekend, but it's going to be 70 degrees on Saturday. And it's almost Thanksgiving. And yeah, I think Mother Earth's a little pissed and trying to make herself known that way.
Definitely.
I think it's interesting. I listened to some channelers, different people, and you mentioned the Galactic Council, and some of them are channeling, these, whether they're extraterrestrial or just extracorporeal beings. I wonder if anybody actually channels Gaia. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, that would be good.
That's a great point. And that's so funny you said that, Kara, because I've been recently finding a lot of interest in listening to some channelers too. And I never did before. I don't know, was just wanting to come in. And I think that someone, I hope, will be able to channel Gaia because she's hurting. She's
Yes.
in pain. And
Well, if I were able to channel Gaia, I think it's more like she's kind of like, you idiots, don't you know what you're doing?
Exactly. And we
And
can all
Earth,
hear it and we can all channel her and we are her children and we are here to be her voice. We can't wait for anybody else to be her voice. We are
Very
her
well
voice.
said. Very well said. Thank you.
yeah.
what I'm talking about.
If we are of the soil, right? From the earth, part of the earth.
I love all of this talk, and this is
There is
this
beautiful.
is
There is a Native American saying that says, every ground your feet stand on is holy ground because your feet are standing on it.
this is
So, yeah,
Nia,
I
could you
mean,
repeat that?
sure. Every ground that your feet stand on is holy ground, Terra Santa. Not only the Holy Land, but every part of this marvelous spaceship Earth, because we are standing on it. It is holy because of the life standing on it that permeates within it, that gives us this joy, this sustenance, the ability to breathe and drink and eat and make love and make friends and culture ourselves. So indeed, yeah, it is holy ground wherever we breathe and step upon it.
yeah, yeah, that's perfect. It was Henry David Thoreau who said, "Heaven is under our feet as well as over our heads." And who can forget that good old time Astro favorite, as below, so above.
As above, so below. So we can recognize the wonder of the one. And not many people know the other part of this sentence. And I don't understand why. Because when Isaac Newton translated it from Hermes's Trismegistus emerald tablet, that's the rest of the sentence. And it's so important. I don't get why it didn't get in the headline, so we could recognize the wonder of the one.
Totally. And that's my hope with Uranus's retrograde through Taurus, that this this ancient wisdom, which is cellular, by the way, it's written on the cells of all of our bodies, that ancient wisdom awakens more and more. That is congruent with what Nia was saying, that it's all sacred ground, and then so are we. Okay, now we're starting to get into some really beautiful territory if we really think about it. Right here that we've been talking about, Uranus and Taurus, and the reawakening of ancient divine goddess feminine wisdom.
Yes.
And it's a very interesting contrast, don't you think? And I have to be careful not to put too much of my book out there yet. But that it's interesting, though, the contrast because of the AI and the hyper tech and the data centers and all the energy needed and all of the plastic and what we're learning about microplastics and and everything that is quote unquote artificial. I mean, it's all natural elements, but artificial. And over here is like, well, let me get back to the essence of Leo season and the celebration of the summer sun. Yeah. And so I'm a strong advocate and a strong proponent actually of this other awakening over here on this side, because I think that is more necessary for the continued uh, growth and evolution, but even sustenance and maintenance of the human race, more than the electricity based functions.
I think I remember what I was going to say about Uranus earlier, about how, we talk about it as decentralizing or fragmenting, breaking apart. But the thing that I think sometimes I forget is that it also reconfigures. It also remembers. It puts things back together in a new way. So just looking at this new moon chart, if Uranus is bringing us a remembrance of these things, of these Taurian themes, what is it then speaking to Mercury? It's giving something to Mercury in that opposition, yeah, and the sun and the moon.
I agree. And I think it's going to be allowing for the dam to break, finally, break open so that what's been separate and compartmentalized can flow in. I mean, this is emotional energy. We have a lot of water here. So this, there's something emotional that's coming to the surface out of the darkness too, because with the new moon, I mean, that's the darkest, that's when the sky is at its, the darkest. But Mercury there is saying, but I want to see in the dark. I want to see something, and Scorpio loves darkness too. So, we're going to be able to go to the depths and bring something to light, all of us, if we actually have the patience and the ability to just sit in the stillness and the darkness, go into the void and see what wants to rise to the surface, what wants to finally be seen. Uranus is a messenger bringing something in, but it may not feel comfortable with that opposition. We might want to push it away, but I've been hearing of people lately that are going, choosing to go to these retreats where they go into a dark room for 3 days and just sit in the darkness. They have no distractions, just to go into that void and see what comes up. So what I'm trying to say is this energy is it's a time to really let ourselves go deep because something wants to be known. And
I
it's not,
think that it's going to be going deep into exploring our values and our
yes,
common values. What's really
Well,
important.
yes.
when I look at this chart too, not only is Uranus opposing the new moon and Mercury, you have the Pluto Jupiter opposition going on, and Mars is actually squaring the nodes. And so that Mars squaring the nodes is going to activate also moving towards, leaving the south node behind what we need to move behind and help move us forward to the north. At the same time, this whole new moon is happening and the opposition of Pluto and Jupiter.
Yes.
So there's a lot happening there.
I want to go back to what you said, Tara, about the all the water, this grand water trine. It's not
Yeah.
showing the trine to Jupiter, but it would be there. And so much of the time, I do a lot of coaching in my practice, so I combine coaching and astrology. And this is where I hold space for people because we are afraid to sit in silence so many times. It's uncomfortable, right? And so we avoid it as much as we can. We distract ourselves, we self-medicate or do whatever to try to avoid having to feel. And I don't think we're going to be able to avoid it at this point. It's really going to be front and center. So yeah.
And I look at that Neptune Saturn trine going on. I mean, Neptune 29 degrees, Saturn 25. So, that's speaking to, I mean, Neptune in Pisces, Neptune retrograde in Pisces. I mean, there's sometimes a pull towards escapism, obviously, confusion, wanting to run away, but also therein lies our greatest gift of fully getting in touch with the deepest spiritual part of us. And then Saturn, so Mercury retrograde will get on, I think in the following days, it'll be direct, the trine to Saturn. So when it's 25 degrees, Saturn is bringing in kind of this pressure to mature, I would say, to wisen up, to be able to finally decipher truth from fantasy, what's real, what's sustainable, and what's not. So we can start to purge. The Scorpio wants us to purge. So purge this muck, this ick, this stuff we've been holding within us. So we're ready to finally embrace that new beginning that's really going to come in February when Saturn and Neptune are conjunct 0 degrees Aries. I mean, that's when it's really go time. So I feel like we're kind of wrapping up this, this metamorphosis, but it's a symbolic death and rebirth. It really is. And it's an ego death. So it's never easy, kind of dark night of the soul stuff, but it's something beautiful can come out of it if we actually embrace it, because this energy is so supportive right now, especially emotionally.
Yeah, I've been calling it the death of the American dream, or the American nightmare, or the American illusion. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm an independent contractor. I'm an organic flower farmer and a professional astrologer and teacher. I work for myself. Yay, capitalism. All of that uh, said, there are rackets and there are systems and there are advantages and disadvantages, and there are a whole lots of ways that the quote unquote American dream has actually failed a whole lot of people. So, and in classic Scorpio fashion, every death is also then a rebirth. So how can we dream a new dream, Aries? Neptune, one that works, Saturn, one that's functional and effective and reality based, but also still has the Neptunian qualities of compassion, imagination, possibility, and potential for the future. You know, we're all in this together. I love you. You love me. Don't mess with my stuff. You know, it can be great, Neptune and Aries. So my hope is that I mean, wouldn't it be nice just to wave your hand and have a collective awakening at, oh my gosh, I guess we can do things a little differently. All we have to do is reallocate funds in the American, budget, and hey, yeah, everybody's taking care of baseline, and then we can keep going. So there are possibilities out there. It's just what those are. To quote, I think I heard Steve Forrest say this once, but and I think it was regarding the Uranus-Pluto square. And now the trine comes. Here's the opportunity to put into action these words, but how bad does it have to get before we make the changes that we know we need to make? I think of my mother, bless her heart, she quit smoking cigarettes when she had the heart attack in front of the fire station, thank God, so it's like and even myself, I'll own it. How long is it gonna take till I actually learn A, B, C, D, F, G, yeah, I'm still chipping away at plenty of things I was very aware of when I read Way of the Peaceful Warrior when I was 19. I'm significantly older now and still working on that peaceful warrior thing we've been talking about. So, I'm really hopeful that we can somehow collectively, wave the hand. Hey, let's have the conversation of what we want that new dream to be, because I think we're pretty creative and we could think of something really functional and effective. We're just moving through an incredible amount of fear right now at what we're seeing is the death of the old American dream.
So, Kara, I have a little bit of encouragement. Can you go to the next new moon? Because it's conjunct the galactic center and Venus and Juno. And Mars has passed through it as well.
I don't have Juno up here, but I could get her up there.
She's basically conjunct Venus, just a little bit before Venus. So,
all right. So on the 19th of December, that's the three-eye atlas closest to Earth.
Oh, wow.
I knew that, and I forgot to say that earlier. Yeah, I knew it was going to be on the Sag new moon. So I find that quite interesting.
That is so synchronistic that it's just really hard to.
Yeah, because she's coming from the galactic center.
Yeah. Wow.
Square Neptune in conjunct Uranus.
The north node of Pluto is at 22 degrees Cancer.
Yeah, my ascendant.
But what were you going to say, Sue? Sorry, I didn't mean to take that over.
No, I just wanted to point that out. That's what I do. I point out the aspects and then say, okay, now discuss.
Well, that's a yod.
That's quite a big yod there. Or several of them. That's not what I wanted to do. Sorry. The Sun, Venus, and is Mars.
Yeah, Mars will just go be in Capricorn.
And Mercury square the nodes exactly.
Oh, again, so when it comes back. Which is an opportunity to talk about things again and resolve skip steps as Jeffrey talks about.
Yeah, that South Node in Virgo. Whatever stuff we need to still grieve, I think is
The
we're at the
details.
end of cycles, right? We're at the
And I feel like we're grieving our past identities.
Mhm.
So we're doing that on a personal level and we're doing it collectively. We're doing it nationally because we have to let go of how things were. They just aren't working anymore. And that's the key here is like, again, that rebirth, like we're like newborn babies. Like it's scary, we feel vulnerable. It's also new, it's fresh, it's raw, that it can be scary to go through a rebirthing process, but how exciting at the same time.
This is interesting. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tara.
Oh, go ahead. I was done.
Well, I'm just looking at the nodes because they're at ending degrees of, 11 degrees of Pisces and Virgo. And the nodes in the Moon-Casey chart of our nation's chart are 12 degrees Virgo. And on December 15th of 2025, that's where they arrive at 12 degrees Virgo. So they're going to be conjunct our nation's ascendant and descendant along with that new moon as well. I think it was on the 19th. Yeah. And, we're going through an awful lot right now politically. It's going back and forth. Just look at the Senate, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I think we're just really working something out. And I think that I'm hopeful that something good will come of it because we're working. We're not doing anything. We're working at it. And that's, that Virgo ascendant was rising into the consciousness of our minds when we signed that declaration. So we're back in that territory again. Back in those waters. Oh. And I don't see things as good and bad. I see them as being worked out. It takes a lot of sometimes worry and strain and problems to compel us into action. And Mars gets such a bad rap. Mars is action. It's stepping out and speaking up, and it's going to go through Sagittarius pretty quickly, which is natural law and natural empathy and natural compassion. So I'm very hopeful.
Yeah, that's where we're at today.
Awesome. Yep. This has been a fun, interesting discussion, and it went places where I wasn't expecting it to go, but yet here we are. And so does anybody, we're at about 90 minutes, so maybe we should wrap up, but does anybody have any final thoughts that they want to express before we do that?
This was great. Thank you all for being here and participating. I love where it went.
Marty has something to share before we sign off also.
Ryan, did I see you ready to say something?
Yeah. I'd just like to thank everybody for sharing all your brilliance and wisdom and love and radiance with me and the rest of the world. I really love astrology in that it's such a beautiful, useful language that when used properly, can definitely points out the shadows and the potential darknesses, but always shows us that there are choices we can make to, if not find our way out of something, at least alleviate it or soften it, or at the very least give it context. So power to the people.
Kathy, final thoughts?
No, final thoughts are I'm glad I joined again. I was very hesitant. And I just the passion of everybody being able to talk the same language and everybody with their own little jewels of knowledge and inspiration and all of that together feels hopeful, feels good.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what we were all talking about of the Chiron and Aries. Everybody has their unique contribution to this.
Yes. Hmm.
So
And a lot of people are watching America with with our Chiron in Gemini. A lot of people are watching us as a city on a hill.
Chiron and Aries.
Chiron in Aries, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
yeah. So if Tara, any final thoughts?
Oh, I just appreciated today so much. I really just feel the same as all of you guys. I love coming together and just feels really good to be able to talk astrology and I don't know, meet with all you beautiful people. So thank you.
Nia?
Thank you.
Sarah, you're
Thanks.
amazingly beautiful. I think remembering is a good term to use here because what I felt is really not only reassured but realigned once I hear all of your words and I get into your vibration, remembering who I am, what part of which community I am, what's my clan, what's the presence I've been given, and so it reassures me of the voice I need to be in my own communities. So when we go back empowered by this meeting into our own little worlds, remember it's a multiverse, we're all connected, and these little
Yeah.
worlds affect one another. So shine on, and thank you all.
Tara, any final thoughts?
Nope, I think I said it already. Just thanks, everyone.
Okay, so Marty, your final wrap up. You wanted to share a video to inspire us all.
Okay, I want to do that. I want to show one slide before I do that. So let me go ahead and go to share. I'll be as quick as I possibly can.
And we'll put a link to the talk that you referenced in your slides as well.
So here's Gavin Newsom, and I did do a pretty in-depth workup of his chart and the Moon Casey chart, which are very interesting and current transits. But I'm just going to show this real quickly and show, as you can see, that he has Virgo rising at 21 degrees, and then our nation's chart is 16 degrees rising. And it's an incredible study. I had so much fun with this. I actually was up all night. I pulled an all-nighter because it's such an incredible chart to look at in conjunction or in association with our nation's chart and the current transits. He has Mars in Sagittarius, which again is a peaceful warrior. It's just that it's the most instinctual, natural way to express action and the need for action. And it's also conjunct Vesta, which is the fire carrier. And then he has there was one more thing I wanted to show you, but that's enough for now. And he's been called the shadow president. This is a clip of him, or a shot of him in Houston, where he came before a huge crowd in Houston, and he spoke the words referring to our current president. He has woken up our immune system. And it's interesting to me that Gavin has Neptune in Scorpio, which is an evolving immune system. Well, a lot of people have that. It's generational, but I thought that was a really interesting quote. And he's on fire, and he says, because the most important office the most important office is the office of citizen. He's talking about the little person stand out and stand up. And yeah, he's a politician, but he's giving us hope, in my opinion. We cannot rest until we take it back. So just kind of take that into consideration. And then I'll go to my last slide. Here we go. And this is Prophecy Rock. It shows the two-hearteds on people that are of two hearts, and they're not sincere, and they are on a road to destruction. Or if we take the path toward agriculture and saving the earth, we're going to be okay, and we're going to continue forever. I actually got to see Prophecy Rock about 10 years ago, and there's electricity there, absolutely. And this is avoiding if I can find my cursor again, bear with me just a moment. No, not going to happen. Okay, let's just move on. And I'll leave it at this.
Good to be with you. And I just wanted to end today's show by thanking all of the wonderful people who work behind the scenes at this network. You may have seen some reports about me and the show. And after giving all of this some careful consideration and weighing an alternative time slot CNN offered me, I've decided to move on. I am grateful to CNN for the nearly 18 years I've spent here doing the news. People often ask me if the highlight of my career at CNN was at the White House covering Donald Trump. Actually, no. That moment came here when I covered former President Barack Obama's trip to Cuba in 2016 and had the chance to question the dictator there, Raul Castro, about the island's political prisoners. As the son of a Cuban refugee, I took home this lesson. It is never a good time to bow down to a tyrant. I've always believed it's the job of the press to hold power to account. I've always tried to do that here at CNN, and I plan on doing all of that in the future. One final message. Don't give in to the lies. Don't give in to the fear. Hold on to the truth and to hope. Even if you have to get out your phone, record that message. I will not give in to the lies. I will not give in to the fear. Post it on your social media so people can hear from you too. I'll have more to say about my plans in the coming days, but until then, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. It has been an honor to be welcomed into your home for all these years. That's the news. Reporting from Washington, I'm Jim Acosta.
And then he went on to form his own media company and is kind of forging ahead with what we need to hear with independent media. And we were talking a little bit before we started recording about Robin's and my favorite interview with Heather Cox Richardson, where they were talking about the importance of creating a community of media that is reliable.
Even little
That's
people
not
have their
bought.
voice.
Yes.
Right. Media that's not bought and paid for by, large corporations.
Right.
Exactly. Thank you all. This has been wonderful.
Okay.
And we'll see you again when did you say, Robin, we're going to do the year ahead in January?
Yeah, it'll be in early January, first half of January.
All right. Good to see you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.